Have you found yourself in a relationship with a toxic person, with a narcissist, with someone who has demonstrated this toxic or abusive behavior, and you wonder to yourself, why is this person so judgmental? Like it seems like everything that happens in their life, they're judging you, they're judging sometimes themselves, they're judging other people. Why are they so judgmental? Like looking down on other people, kind of like snub nose whenever they're talking to other people. Why are they so judgmental? So we're gonna dive into some of that today inside of this YouTube video, or if you're listening on the podcast, thanks so much. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, like, rate, review, or just share this with someone else who might be struggling with dealing with a narcissist as well. If you're new here, my name is Ben Taylor. I'm a self-aware narcissist on this channel to provide awareness of narcissistic abuse and to break people free from the trauma that's happened inside narcissistic abusive relationships. So if you're struggling, how do I let go of some of the obsessive thoughts and thinking and feeling almost addicted to this person? Please reach out. Go to escapetoxicity.com or go to rawmotivations.com. Would love to be able to help you out in helping you move forward in your healing process. But when we talk through this aspect of narcissists being judgmental, narcissists can't accept that something's wrong with him. And so, like, something might be happening, or he might be called out for something, but actually being to accept that something is wrong is like impossible. So, as a result, it's like, let me choose to ignore the things that are happening and oftentimes put it back on someone else. Now, a lot of times people are like, does narcissist actually know that he's hurting other people? Does he know this is what's going on? And the short answer is yes, because how he's acting and how he's treating you is typically different than how he's treating the rest of society. He's not being the same abusive person to you as he is his coworker or as he is his family. A lot of times you'll see differences based on who he's around, what it looks like, and how he's going to behave around everybody else. And so you're going to see different times where a narcissist is choosing to ignore the damage that he's done to you. And whenever he feels that damage or sees that damage, it has to get compartmentalized, repressed, pushed to the side. Okay. It's like put in the back of their mind, like deep down. So, like, a lot of times I would think it would be like a warehouse in the mind, be like a package that I package up of that's what hurt you. It had something to do with me. And let me package up and let me put it in the dark recesses of my mind to be able to say, okay, this doesn't exist anymore. Okay. A narcissist doesn't want to remember it, chooses not to remember it. There's a whole different litany of different things that happens there. Okay. But because unconsciously, it's like, hey, I have to do anything I can to avoid it. Narcissists is always trying to avoid the shame piece. We've talked about that. And so this is all leading up to this place of like, how does it come across as so judgmental when they're actually coming up and judging someone else? Part of it is bringing us into this piece of projecting. Now, when we're talking about projecting, we're talking about someone layering on the idea, the other thoughts of putting this, of what I see of myself, onto you. Did you ever have something where you might have a nervous tick, or you might have like biting your fingernails, or like something that like bugs you when you see someone else do it, but then oftentimes you don't realize that you do it yourself? That's kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about projecting. But a narcissist is doing this in a way of like, hey, I'm being mean to you. Why are you being so mean to me? Throwing it back onto the other person. Sometimes this is a clue of what's actually going on. You'll have a narcissist that is accusing you of cheating all the time, and you've never even dreamt about cheating or thought about cheating, but he's doing that because it's a projection. He's putting it onto you. Sometimes narcissists project onto you just to be able to avoid their own accountability. Like, I don't want to be accountable for my actions, so I'm going to say, these aren't my actions. It's actually you. It's you doing this. This is where you'll see it in a relationship where you'll be getting ready to break up with them, and he's like, yeah, I think we should because you've been so abusive to me. I'm just struggling with the emotional trauma of being with you. And all of a sudden, all these phrases start coming out, and you're like, where is this even coming from? Because it's exactly what you went through, but he's projecting it back onto you. Sometimes that's even mirroring in that aspect. Okay. When we're talking through the piece of projection, a lot of times the narcissist is trying to project things onto you to avoid accountability. Okay, the reason why is like if he projects, say if we go with the cheating example, if he projects onto you, hey, you're cheating, you're going to spend so much of your time, your energy, your thought process, your resources to prove to him that you're not cheating. When in reality, he is. Okay, so oftentimes a narcissist will flip the script on this, and what it does is it keeps you stuck in the fog. It keeps you stuck in the fear, the obligation, the guilt about everything that's happening because you're spending so much time justifying that you're not doing something that he's doing. Okay. So I want you to think through this. If you're constantly getting accused of something, if you're constantly having to defend yourself against something that you know is not true, that you've demonstrated that's not true, it's not true, stop. Now, what I mean by that is don't just like stop and accept the blame, but I mean stop trying to argue with crazy. Stop trying to argue with someone who is not going to see the light of day, that's not going to see the reality that's actually there, that's not willing to acknowledge the truth of what you're saying and the actions that you're doing. If you're at a place where he's not willing to accept that, you're literally trying to battle against someone who is not going to see at any circumstance at all. Okay? So just understand, like, it's fruitless to be battling someone about something that they're going to constantly bring up and believe in their own mind, because typically they're doing it. They're using it to avoid accountability. They're projecting it back onto you. So when we're talking through projection, it's all of this aspect of a narcissist projecting their shit onto you. Okay, for a narcissist, like, that's too painful for me to acknowledge that it was my fault. That's too painful for me to acknowledge that I'm a bad person, that I hurt you, that I did X, Y, and Z, that I'm guilty, that I have this shame. It's too much. So I'm not going to acknowledge it. I'm going to compartmentalize it, repress it, put it in the back of my mind. But then I'm also just going to put it on you. Because if I put it on you, then I feel better about myself. And so a narcissist oftentimes is playing this push-pull game of like, how do I bring you down lower than how I feel so that I feel better about myself because I'm better than you because I brought you down underneath me. Does it make sense logically? Sort of. Does it make sense otherwise? No, it doesn't. But this is how it works. This is what's going on inside narcissist mind on the other side of things, okay? And so it brings up different things. It might bring up the guilt, which is typically the biggest one. It brings up guilt. The guilt then leads into shame. The shame then leads into blame or projecting it onto someone else. And the blame often leads it to rage. Of like, well, that didn't work because you didn't accept the blame, or you accepted the blame, but the narcissist still didn't feel better about himself, so he had to rage out. We'll see this cycle happen over and over and over again. And until you understand this cycle, you'll pretty much always be stuck reacting to it and believing the stuff that he does because it happens the same way almost every single time. Narcissists will always see wrong in you. He won't see wrong in himself. He won't see, oh, I did something wrong. He'll always have to be like, nope, it has to be you. How many of you have struggled with this, where the narcissist constantly puts you down, constantly puts you as being the main problem in the relationship? The majority of the time that this happens is just shame avoidance. It's like, how do I avoid it? Blame it on you. How do I get away from it? Blame it on you. How do I not be accountable? Blame it on you. Okay, it's always trying to switch it around to the other person. Okay, but like I said before, the narcissist is trying to do this to you to bring you down, to make you less than. He'll do this in all different aspects, whether it's because you make more money than him, you have a better esteemed job than him, like you just are happier than him. He'll be like, let me bring you down underneath how I feel so that I feel better about myself. Okay, a lot of times this is like a pseudo self-esteem boost. It's like, let me pump myself up. But all it's doing is putting other people down so that his current bad state feels better about himself. Okay? Then it gives the narcissist a false sense of superiority. He's not necessarily superior to the other person, but he thinks he is in the moment. So like, I would put someone down being like, yeah, you're stupid, or treating them like they're stupid, not because they were stupid, they weren't actually, but it'd make me feel better about myself that I wasn't stupid. And so there's always this like battle of like, how do I put other people down so I feel better about who I am, so I don't have to deal with them, so I don't have to deal with their emotions, so I don't deal with the feelings, all that kind of stuff. Okay? Narcissists don't have this amazing self-esteem. You believe that a lot of times because of the confidence that they seem to portray to the outside world based on how they're acting. But they're typically running from this place of shame, of guilt, having low self-esteem, and oftentimes even being frustrated or hating themselves. Okay? Because this whole aspect here of like the shame and the guilt and the things that are underneath is what oftentimes is driving a narcissist to do the things that he does. But without him acknowledging, this is why I do it, this is the trigger that starts down this process, nothing will ever change. Okay? So if you understand this, just I want you to make sure you understand the projection piece. The narcissist is going to project onto you so much. He's going to project onto you to avoid accountability. That's why he's so judgmental. That's why he's so much putting you down so he can feel better about himself. He's going to do this over and over and over again. If you're struggling with this and you're inside this type of relationship, you need to get help. You need to get support, because otherwise you'll start to believe, you'll start to ascribe to his reality. You'll start to think, okay, maybe he's actually true. This is why a lot of people that I talk to will come to Raw Motivations and they'll be like, I think I might be the problem. I might be the narcissist. And we talk through it about what he's demonstrating and she's demonstrating, and it's like completely opposite. We're like, no, you're not. And so it's so hard for people to be able to walk through this. So if I can be of any help, please go to the link that's down below or the link that's in the bio, which is escapetoxicity.com, for a 7-day challenge for $7, just to get you started and move you through the process of how I teach and how I help break people free. If you're ready to dive in more of an accelerated, like one-on-one approach or an accelerated approach with some of the programs we offer, then go to rawmotivations.com, click on the one-on-ones. Would love to be able to help you move forward in your healing, in your growth, in your change, in your development. If you haven't already, like and subscribe and rate and review if you listen on the podcast. You'll have a blessed and wonderful day.